Hi, Carl, Nick. We are here on day 6 of our journey to the cross, looking at the last days of Jesus' life. And day 6 is filled full of many somber things. Mm-hmm. When it starts out, Jesus was arrested basically at the end of day 5. And then they end up taking him to the high priest's home, Caiaphas. What happens there?
Yeah, and so they take him to his house, and Caiaphas, he really, we kind of see the fulfillment of a prophecy that maybe he didn't even know about back in John 11. What was he saying in John 11?
So in John 11, because Jesus was such a political animal, okay? And the reason I say that is as he's doing things and the people are loving him and the people are under the rule of Rome, they want to proclaim him king. And that's happened a couple different times where they're ready to proclaim him king and Jesus won't have anything to do with it. But the religious authorities, the Jewish religious authorities, they're afraid Rome's going to find out we have somebody who wants to be king or could be king, and they're afraid the Roman authorities will come. And so at that point, Caiaphas says this, he's high priest at the time, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't realize that it's better for you that one man should die, Jesus, for the people, rather than the whole nation be destroyed. Now, as it turns out, yes, Jesus dies so everybody gets a chance to live, but Caiaphas is thinking, let's kill him, then we all won't be killed.
Yeah, and he was thinking more on the behalf of the Jewish nation of Israel. And if we kill Jesus, the Jewish nation won't be killed by the Romans. God, on the other hand, had a much bigger plan in mind of Jesus dying on the cross for everyone, not just the Jewish nation. And so we kind of have the same method that's going on here in killing one for many, but God's plan is much more vast.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. And as you read the events that's going on in this day 6, you find there's an awful lot of people that they're looking at everything, and this is typical, we all do it, through our own eyes and not recognizing God has an overarching view and he sees things much different than we do, and we really need to be paying attention to what it is he sees. Mm-hmm. So as Jesus is there with the high priest and stuff, eventually they turn him over to Pilate. The Jews, because they're a subjugated nation, they do not have the right to go kill anybody. Mm-hmm. And they want Jesus to have the capital punishment. And so they feel like they have to take him to Pilate. So they take him to Pilate, try to explain what's going on. Pilate wants to wash his hands of it, and at one point he does.
Yeah, and then he sends him to Herod,
Jewish king.
The Jewish, and Herod kind of doesn't do anything with it either, and sends him back to Pilate. And then at this point, Pilate goes to the crowd, the Jewish people, and gives them an option of, do you want to kill Barabbas or Jesus, or who do you want me to release? And
Barabbas was a person he was a Jew who had instigated trouble against the Romans, and he's a murderer. And so Pilate's thinking, well, who do you want released? This person he's a itinerant teacher. He knows that's what Jesus is. He's not an instigator of a rebellion. He's not a murderer. Who do you want released? Mm-hmm. And the crowd of people that are there, they are local people that the Jewish authorities wanted there, and they have control over this group. And so they get the group to say, release Barabbas, crucify Jesus, crucify Jesus. So that's what Pilate does. It is interesting. He had a lot of misgivings about doing this, but he felt compelled by the people and what they wanted to do, so he releases Barabbas. And actually, when you think about it, then, wow, Barabbas, Jesus died for my sins. Mm-hmm. Jesus actually took Barabbas's place on the cross.
Literally.
Because it should have been Barabbas who was who was being killed that day and not Jesus. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's interesting, while all of this is happening, where are the disciples?
Yeah.
And we have this picture of Peter specifically, who is denying Jesus 3 times.
He followed Jesus. He wanted to know what was going on. And then, 3 times somebody recognizes him or recognizes speech pattern that he's from Galilee and confronts him and confronts him and confronts him. And no, don't. The last time, I think he's cursing about it even, and it probably means, may this happen to me. If, it means it's not me. And then the rooster crows. That's what Jesus had said. Jesus, in one of the passages, looks over at him, makes eye contact with Peter, and it says that Peter wept bitterly and just left. He's crushed. He realized he left. He let his best friend down. I mean, he abandoned him in his hour of need. From there, it's Jesus getting beaten, mocked by soldiers, whipped, flayed with a Roman whip. It's gruesome and awful. Then he's made to carry his own cross. He can't. They conscript someone else to carry the cross for him, and they take him out to where they put the crosses on a hill. 2 other people, 2 thieves, are crucified with him, and so then the 3 are on there. As the day progresses, there is none of the Jews wants anybody hanging on the cross when the sun sets, because when the sun sets, it's the Sabbath, okay? And so actually Jesus dies before that. He gives up his spirit. When he gives up his spirit, there's an earthquake. There's a blackness that fills the land. There's a curtain in the temple that hides the Holy of Holies from all the rest of the temple. The curtain's torn in two, and Jesus is dead.
Right.
There's a Roman centurion there. He ends up saying, wow, this must have been God's son.
Right. And we have this incredibly sombering moment on this 6th day of the road to the cross, where Jesus is hanging on the cross. He gives up his spirit, and by the end of the day is taken down from the cross and laid in the tomb. And that's where we leave day 6. And again, I think same as yesterday, we would encourage you to just kind of sit in the somberness of what today is. Don't read ahead to the good news, and there is good news, but just sit in what does this mean for you? What does this mean for your life in the middle of this story?
Blessings to you.
See you later.